All right, I've just taken enough ibuprofen to euthanize an entire zoo. Let's get rolling with this week's edition of North American Harness Update. Notice how I say this week's. That means that we were meant to do this show on a week-to-week basis, but unfortunately, other things occur, like the fact that there's not a lot of racing happening this winter. But tonight, on the night of the 7th of 59 Democratic presidential debates, we've decided let's go on a half hour earlier, as not just because the Meadowlands is starting earlier and we kind of have to cover them by obligation to keep my kneecaps intact. No, instead we decided as a group, we got together, we ate some pastrami sandwiches, and we said, you know what? The people want us earlier, because we would be getting off the air around like 11:30, and already people would be falling asleep in the final half hour. Thankfully, with the show on, it's great for ratings, great for advertisers. But Mike and Rod, I'm glad that you were able to clear your busy schedules, as was I, so we could fit in this earlier edition of North American Harness Update. How have you guys been?
Oh, still alive, I guess.
That was my exact thought. Still alive.
I was going to say not all at once. Yeah.
It's nice to see that you're still alive.
On what?
Right? You're still alive.
Every day I get out of bed not only makes me thankful, but makes me even more grateful knowing that someone out there is angrier at the thought of it. Right on the show, we have several things to cover, and it's the most of the same things that we would cover each and every week on this show when there's no stakes happening. Racing from the Meadowlands. They've revamped their entire betting roster, so much so that their pick four starts now one race earlier. I believe it carries the same guarantee of 50,000.
Yep.
I could be mistaken. Yes, I'm not mistaken. I am correct in that case. Their pick four starts a race earlier, also like an hour earlier now. Mohawk's pick four, their late pick four is still the same. It's the last four races on their card. We'll talk about that. And of course, the NAHU pick four from the Raceway at Western Fair District, more colloquially known as London.
Bang, bang.
In London, Ontario. Has their $5,000 guaranteed pick four. The last four races, it's 5,000, right? It's not like 8-5, 7-5.
5,000 on Fridays, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. It's 7,500.
Okay, and note to everyone out there, that is not in CAD unless you're betting in the great province of Canada.
That's a country,
not the country of Canada. It's an important distinction. The Dominion of Canada.
It's not a Dominion.
It is a Dominion.
Dominican.
Look it up. That is not just because it's
Domain.
A word that sounds like another word you think it is, does not mean that's the word that it actually is.
What about domain?
That is typically a cavity of some sort of royal.
Whose cavity?
Oh my god.
Domination.
Oh, we have 2 hours. I think I have enough time to go over this. So, a domain is typically a lair. That's a word I think we both could understand. Typically housing someone of esteem. As for cavities,
how about
I really
websites?
Don't have time to go into those.
That's attractive.
Well,
can we stop that?
Stop what? Natural bodily functions? I've been trying to do that for years, but unfortunately I wake up in a wet puddle each and every morning as a result, and I find it inconvenient because I could be getting so much work done at my little open office space cubicle, where I'm forced to churn out 400 word articles every 6 hours about which Gilmore Girl you would be based upon your diet. And I could probably make like 5 or 10 of those in a day if I did not have to use the restroom. But unfortunately, my union doesn't want to fight for me, and now I am stuck to just wet myself on my own free time. But
you're not part of a union.
Like I said, I wish I was. Like I said, the 7th Democratic debate's occurring right now. They're probably talking about urinating themselves over there. We don't have to talk about that here. Unless one of us hits a pick four, because that would be the natural expression of excitement, at least in my household. We start this evening with the Meadowlands pick four, starting in race number 6. Again, do know it's a $50,000 guaranteed pool, so that means inside this pool will be $50,000 of some people's money, maybe like 5 or 6. I don't know how many people bet into this thing. I just know they bet a lot of money. And this sequence opens up with a race, as they typically do. The specific condition, non-winners of 10,000 their last 5. It's a trotting event going for a purse of 16,000 taxpayer subsidized dollars. Field of 10 going poster in this one. To start things off, Mr. Mike, you're 3 deep.
Yeah, I really like this sequence. I think that it's, I mean, it's not going to, you're not going to get rich on it, but I do think that it will very for a smaller ticket for me. 3 deep in the first, and it's upper level trotters here. The 2 Infinity AS returned last time and actually did, try a little bit around that second turn. Just, needed, I think, that race off a couple qualifiers. This horse has made 230,000 and draws well. You get Marcus Miller now. You're going to get a price. That one's the use for me. The 3 Max is an obvious one. Will probably be the favorite. And Yannick gets on now. Just missed last time to Dayson, who led the entire way around. And that horse had been racing pretty well. This horse is, JL Cruz, Pappy Go-Go in the lines, racing at the top level. You get Yannick, you're going to get sub-even money, I would think, there, but it's hard to leave off. And then the 6, Reseda. This horse loves this racetrack, gets back here off a decent qualifier. You get Dexter Dunn on for this. And, if this horse is anywhere close to, what he was last year or the year before at this place, you have to use. So 2, 3, 6 to start.
Did Reseda race here? Because I don't remember any lines at the medal.
I'm pretty sure he did. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I gotta look that up. However, Rod,
look that up.
Rod, you're in concurrence with Mr. Prebazi. Is that how you pronounce it, Mr. Prybo?
No, and it's not how you say it.
Mr. Shankwell. Is that your name? Mr. Allen.
I'm glad Ray's back from Philadelphia.
I know, I'm such a city boy now. I scream at traffic for fun.
I do that out of anger.
I think you're one of those Philly homeless people like that you see whenever you drive around Philly.
I can tell.
That's why you're wearing the coat.
Well, here's
probably
the great
begging.
Here's the great thing about being in the city. I've learned that I have particularly adequate hygiene only because I'm always stopped by homeless people. Always stopped.
Yeah. That's because they probably think that you've been homeless with them. That's the thing.
Spare change.
They're not saying like, hey, when's the next meeting? Or do you know who's good to stop on 6th Street? I'm not involved in those conversations. They're mainly just asking like, hey, I just got a hernia. Do you have $2? And it's like, oh, man.
That seems cheap for a hernia surgery these days. I don't know.
Well, no, it's because they want half of a Whopper from Burger King, and then you say, well, I only have a credit. Then you say, I only have a credit card, and then they go, oh, it's okay, I'll walk there with you. And then it's like, but I was kind of going the opposite way, 4 blocks, and then they go, oh, there's a Burger King down there.
You know what you should say? God dang Loch Ness Monster, I don't have no 350.
I'm sure that would be the precise response, as opposed to politely saying, I empathize with you, but I don't have any cash on me.
What you should say is, I'm homeless too.
From what I learned at my college, because I go to college, it is not appropriate to appropriate other people's cultures, particularly the homeless. I wouldn't want to.
I don't really think that homeless is necessarily a culture.
No,
it's thriving.
At least anyone.
It's thriving. Have you heard homeless music? Oh my God, it's beyond anything that I've ever heard. Fantastic.
Can I talk about my pick 4 instead of? I don't want to be talking about Loch Ness Monsters anymore.
Well, you're the one that brought it up. Mr. Allums, or as it's also read, Mr. Felon. What do you start this sequence somewhat similar to Mike?
Somewhat similar. I'll start with the 3, but not 350. Max.
Very clever.
This horse, it's Birkenjingra, got beat in neck last week. I think he's a play again. He fits this level well, and second start back at this level, he should be right there late. And that was a good first over move last week. The 6 Rosita off the qualifier has missed some time, but this horse definitely plays here. Really good qualifier. Dexter Dunn stays on the drive, 7-time winner last year, must use. And then the 10 Lagerfeld comes off the break, but we know when this horse is flat, he's got plenty of speed. 10 hole is a little bit iffy, obviously, but again, he's another one that I think you have to have on your ticket because he's just quicker than these, and he's getting that drop in class as well. So if he stays flat, he should be right there. I'm 3-6-10.
Yes, Reseda did race here last year. That was the horse that was racing around this condition, but also had a real hard time staying flat. But when he did,
it is great that you doubt me though. Like I have,
No, because I when I was handicapping this race, I saw Jeff Colifer. I was like, and I thought I got that horse mixed up at first with Chirita. I was like, wait, Chirita's coming here, and
the sausage.
I realized no, his name is Reseda. Right. What I love about doing this show when we haven't done it for like 4 weeks is that anything I say just opens me up to Rod's reference bank. An insight into everything he's ever seen based on how he responds to what you say. Yes, like the sausage, Rod. The kind that you can get at any sort of Mexican restaurant on a taco.
Taco. I had Mexican today for lunch.
You eat Mexican like 5 days a week.
Yeah, because it's good.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. I like Max. Max is fine. He finished second to Dayson. Dayson's a classy trotter, a much classier one than anyone in this field. So the fact that Max finished second to Dayson makes it seem like he's the horse to beat in this race. I'm on board with you, Mike, as well. Wait, no, I'm not on board with Infinity Odds. I almost was. I had him marked on my program, but I don't have him on my ticket because I don't know how he's going to handle this next start. He's had a lot of breaks. I do like the fact that Infinity Oz is coming in off a race where he stayed flat, but I wanted to see a bit more out of him. Maybe you get that from him tonight, and maybe he beats me out of the pick 4. But I'm gonna take my chances leaving him off the ticket, instead also throwing on Lagerfeld for the reasons Rod mentioned. When this horse stays flat, he tends to just be really fast, and he's coming in from much tougher conditions. A lot of the horses in this race don't, like, when they reach the 10,000 level, that's sort of their plateau. Avoid any sort of sudden improvements that we cannot handicap. So Lagerfeld seems to be dropping into a comfortable spot. He has gate speed. He showed it 3 starts ago. It's a matter of just whether he's able to carry himself to the wire without doing the jumpy. So I'm going to go 310, sticking with the class in that first leg. Second leg is race 7. Now there's a $7,500 trotting event for a purse subsidized by the taxpayers of $13,500. Mr. Prebozy, you take half.
Tough race, I thought. The 3 Tyson came back very well last time. Was bet off those Dover lines. Really won about as you possibly could. Now steps up 75. This horse has back class, 23 wins, a definite use. The 4 Chief Justice, got stuck with the scratches last week because of the virus, etc. Prior to that, was racing okay from basically off the pace type trips, a couple second place finishes, kicked 27-2 on the 24th of January. I feel like if there's a setup to be had in the race, this horse could benefit, especially from this post, and you get a driver switch. The 7 Mystical Motor, just won for 15 claimers as the favorite, beat Miami. Miami has been racing extremely well, so that one's a use. The 8 Mr. Houdini gets Jingra back, and this horse is capable of better efforts. Last few have not been exceptional, but I do feel like fits at the level. If you look back, December 27th was third in an hours of 10,000 and kicked 27-2 that night. So I feel like, with Yannick back on, this horse has a puncher's chance. And then the 9, Laza Dida Lady. This horse is Dexter Dunn, was racing extremely well in early January, and then, ran into an upper level and couldn't really, produce that late kick. But I like that Dexter ends up back on here, getting off, getting Steve Smith off, Dexter on. That's a use. 3, 4, 7, 8, 9.
All right, let's keep going on through here. They're 1 minute to post, Mr. Rodney.
For me, I'm four deep here. The three, Tyson, I think is a play from the inside off of the win last week. Andrew McCarthy drives this week. The seven, Mystical Motor, uh, you know, did, actually didn't enter last week when they had all the scratches from Saratoga. Uh, Vinny Ginsburg drives. He got along well with this horse last time. Use again. The eight, Mr. Houdini, Yannick and Burke. I mean, this one's very obvious here. And then the nine, Lasadita Lady, one that gets a big driver change, and Dexter Dunn has driven this horse before and done well with uh, her. So 3, 7, 8, 9 for me.
Three deep for me. I start with Alex the Great, a horse that tends to race really well from off the helmet, given the inside spot as well. He should be able to work out a stocking trip and float off that helmet and hopefully fire to the finish as strong as he has in the past. Albeit he's only finished third. He could probably finish better this time out. Why? Out of pure conjecture. Tyson, we all agree, can do well here. You like to see a horse moving up in class off a first over win as the favorite. All of those circumstances read that he should have won that race, and he did. So now he moves into tougher, most likely deserving of any sort of consideration. Lastly, Lasadita Lady for me makes sense on the class drop. This mare, yes, she is a mare. This mare has always raced well at this level. She can get involved from the outside post. The class drop is mainly the reason why I throw her on. Sure, you get Dexter Dunn. The only unfortunate thing is that probably drives down her price because of all of the Dunnites or the Dunnigans or whatever his fan club is called, the Dunneries. Betting this horse because of Dexter Dunn.
The
2,
Dunneries.
3, 9, and like two. I don't know what they call themselves. I never got any sort of memo, even though I was one of the first ones on the Dunn wagon, saying that he was going to be anything. But then there were other people going, "Nah, he's a Kiwi, mate. Us, them Kiwis can't do anything in the States." And then I'm just wondering, well, then why are you a New Zealander against your own people? Anyway, race
I
eight.
don't know anyone that said that.
Race 8 is an hour.
Yeah.
Is a billion. Well, maybe Rod, if you took your head out of the little hole in the sand,
Bung bung.
you too would get hit in the head with a rock. Phillies and Mares now is a 6,500. It's an old kung fu adage, if you're familiar. Numbers of 6,500 in their last 5. Another field of 10 going postward. Mike, you're again the deepest out of all of us. You're taking 4.
Yeah, four deep. I thought this was another tough race. The one, Gloria Pierre, I thought raced well last time. Just got picked off late by Darn Tootin Hanover, who was shot out of a cannon in the last eighth of a mile. So beyond that, this horse I thought had a tough trip and made the front, just couldn't match late. Draws inside again, and that one's a use. The 5 Apple Hanover showed up from Dover off, and dropped in class and won easily at 3-2. Likely will be the favorite in here, but I think you kind of have to use. The 6 Cracklin' Rosie never was really in the right spot last time. Now gets Jingra back. This horse is capable at this level and does like this racetrack. And then the 9 Lana Zitam gets second Lasix. Raced okay first Lasix last time. Got the front and just got picked off late. Outside you get Pat LaChance again. So the price will be high. 1,569.
All right, I see those numbers. I look at Rod's numbers. Rod, what's wrong with the 6?
Nothing wrong with
Good
the horse.
answer.
I just didn't use.
Okay.
I'm 3 deep here. The 1, Gloria Pierre, like Mike said, this horse has been racing well. First over last time in 152, gets the rail now. Should be firing and looking for the pocket trip, most likely. The 5, Apple Hanover. Corey Callahan stays on, and second start at the Meadowlands. Slight jump in class here, but I don't really mind that. This horse did trip out last time, but is capable of winning, and this is a pretty light group for the class hike. And then the 9, Alana Zetam, second time Lasix here. Pat LaChance, he was aggressive last week, adding Lasix. I don't know if he's going to be quite as aggressive from out here, but I do expect this horse to be put in play again, second time Lasix, so 159.
I agree on Apple Hanover off of that last win. I feel like we all agree that she's probably one of the horses to beat in this race. However, I deviate from you guys with these other two. The first one being Always a Martini, not only going down in my books is one of the stranger names I've ever seen, but ships in from Yonkers, raced decently from outside posts over there, now drops in class. Ultimately, I feel like she may improve coming to the bigger track given the inside draw as well, so I'm going to throw her on with a bit of a shot. And outside of her, I try with Majorette Angie, another one that raced decently over the smaller tracks. Didn't deliver as the favorite last out, but seemed to just be in a tough spot from off the pace. Perhaps this time with a better draw, she gets more into the mix and also maybe improves in her second start since dropping back to this level. So I'm going to be 2-3-5 in that third leg. Final leg, race number 9, as I believe they'll be going to gate soon. This is a $15,000 trotting event. Mike, you're single to the 10.
Yeah, and he's been very good since being claimed by Harris. Crushed numbers at 10,000 on January 3rd in the slop in a quick time, and then ran into JL Cruz, 2 back, no chance in that race, and then won very easily again on January 24th. The post will only help the price. This horse gets the front and I think wins again.
Rod, you like the 10, but you don't single.
Yeah, the 10's very obvious here. Just the outside post worries me a little bit. So I use 3 horses here. The 2, Rubber Duck. Some back class to like here on this horse. Hasn't been nearly as sharp as what we've seen him in the past, but I think with the class drop and inside post, we should see a little bit more out of him tonight. And then the 4, Top Flight Angel. It's Andy and Julie Miller off the qualifier. Qualified really well there and looks ready to go. I think this horse will be in the hunt throughout, and Andy is probably going to be a little bit aggressive with him. So 2-4-10.
Yes, Top Flight Angel definitely belongs at this class level. He's raced against much tougher in the past. Likely maybe doesn't go as strong a mile as he's capable since this is his first start back, but we should still see a strong mile from him nonetheless. Very, very fast is very, very obvious. And to the inside, I'm going to try Magic MVP as another contender, stretching out from Freehold, where he raced decently against their top stock. He won a decent race 4 starts ago here at the Meadowlands against Similar. Got away up close, but seemed to just get locked in and have no room while still coming late in the mile to finish 5th. If he just gets the right trip and gets rolling at the right time, he could be an upset factor. But again, that's given perfect circumstances arising. So I'm going to be 3-4-10 in that last leg, which makes my ticket as follows for 50 cents. I am 310. 6 foot, but all right. 310 with 239 with 235 with 3410. $27 for 50 cents. Mike, your ticket.
236 with 3, 4, 7, 8, 9 with 1, 5, 6, 9 with 10. It's 30 for 50 cents.
Rod.
3, 6, 10 with 3, 7, 8, 9 with 1, 5, 9 with 2, 4, 10. It's $54.
Nice.
All right. With that said, how far are we from London's start of the pick?
They just finished race 6 there.
Yes, race 6 just finished there. So we can start diving into that. Meadowlands hasn't met their pick 4 guarantee yet, so we probably have another minute or 2 until they go to post. So we can at least look through this first leg of the Western Fair pick 4, starting in race 7. This race that starts at an hour is a $15,000 lifetime trotting event. One of many races that had me hunched over my chair for approximately an hour, just trying to ponder every sort of decision I've made in my life that led me to this point, simply because I have no clue what's happening in this sequence. Oh my Lord.
It was very, very difficult.
Yeah, it's
difficult.
Mike, I'm going to go to you first because I know Rod probably has some sort of idea, but I want to hear from someone that has as little clue as I do.
I mean, this is the bottom level here. I mean, numbers of 15,000. Well, they may be right numbers of 5,000, but these are really, very low level trotters. I had a really difficult time with the race. Using the one I am what I am, just on the move inside. Has had 3 outside posts in a row, and is getting checks at this level. You get a driver switch here and the rail, so use that one. The 3 J-Port High Class. This horse looks the best on paper. 2 seconds and a win the last 3 starts. And, only 8 lifetime starts. Did have trouble in the last race also. So I would say probably a likely sub-even money favorite in the race. And then the 7 is another one. H.A. Houston. Now, this horse is 1 for 43. Not one I really like, to use, but this horse faced a lot better the last couple races. That Super T raced pretty well earlier tonight. Just had a class edge over. Are they to win the race? But with class, you have to use 137.
Rod, you aren't on the 1, but you are on the 3 and the 7.
Yeah, I'm also 3 deep. I'll start with the 2, Majestic Hero, for Larry Kessel. Last week, this horse, he was just all over the place. He was going to the lead, and then he had to tuck back into third, and then he made a little bobble there, lost a bunch of ground, and he got moving again, and then made another bobble. I mean, it was just a bad overall night for this horse last week. The week prior, this horse just absolutely crushed him, and the track was really, really bad that night. I think he can go with these. I think you're going to get fair value on him as well. And prior to last week, this horse was very consistent, right there every single start. The 3, J-Port High Class, this is one that's just extremely consistent. First or second in his last 4 starts, a win in 3 seconds there. He's right there every week. Going to be the favorite most likely. And then the 7, H.A. Houston, for Andy Moore and Bill Moore. Outside post is the only concern. It is a class drop. He should fit very well in here. Doesn't win much, 1 for 36 in the last 13 or so months, and that's the biggest issue for me. So I'm 2-3-7 to start it.
I went with my handicapper's instinct. I want horses that go forward, because never do you want to bet a horse that's going backwards, because that only means they're losing. 2 horses in this race I've seen go forward on paper. I Am What I Am, J-Port High Class. They've both been able to gain ground in the most important part of the race, the final quarter. And that to me means one of the 2 has to win. And if they don't, then God help me and whoever is crossing that finish line first. I'm 1-3 in the first leg of that London Pick 4. Meanwhile, they are going to the gate here for the opener at the Meadowlands. Current favorite at 1, or not the opening leg of the Pick 4 at the Meadowlands, pardon me. 1-2 favorite, the 3, Max, who is just another in this trend of horses being named after just first names. No time at all. We'll have a Larry. It'll be Joe,
Mo,
Monroe.
and Curly.
You see what I mean? Rod's reference bank, it's wider than you think. It goes back to the 1930s, if it must.
It has to.
Two's 35-1. That's probably too big, I would think. And the 6 is the action in the race.
Trixie Dust on a gallop before the start. 9 left. In line, in behind, in motion, and approaching the start. Arrest off and trotting. Presidente Zet shows speed to the outside, as does Lagerfeld, who launches from the far outside. Center comes Pierce Wave Hanover, as well as the favorite Max, crossing to the cones and clearing command of the first turn. Pierce Wave Hanover now ducks into the pocket. Recito away fourth as Lagerfeld's on a mission for the front, up towards second and ranging towards Max, as now Lagerfeld moves up to take the lead before the first quarter. Presidente Zet races wide in fifth from Gigfi. They're then back to Infinity Oz sitting 7th. 8th comes DW's Revenge, with Crazy About Pat second to last, and the early breaker Trixie Dust trailing. 29 seconds the first quarter is Lagerfeld now holds a length and a half advantage on Max. Trotting in second. Third sits Pierce Wave Hanover past 3/8 and towards the half mile. Reseda still fourth, with Presidente Zet fifth, while no one's made a move outside to challenge the tempo setter Lagerfeld, who crosses that half mile beam in 57-1, a 28-1 accelerated quarter. Far turn bound with Lagerfeld in control. Max still second, a length and 3/4 behind. Pierce Wave Hanover still third. Reseda begins to range outside for Dunn, with Presidente Zet trying to flush that cover. Gig Fi still sixth, and now scooting up the cones, while Infinity Oz gaps towards the rear of the field ahead of DW's Revenge and Crazy About Pat rounding out the field to 3/4. Max out of the pocket, coming after Lagerfeld with Reseda on her tail. 126 for 3/4. Lagerfeld's lead narrows as Max now given his cue, drawing alongside the pace setter, now taking the lead coming to the 8th pole. Pierce Wave Hanover moves up the pylons with room to trot. Outside comes Reseda off cover, coming after Max, and Reseda now moving up to take the lead from Max coming to the line. Reseda cruising past as Max goes off stride to win here by about a length and a half over Presidente Zet. Max on a gallop in third with DW's Revenge rallying to the center fourth, 156-1. All right, Mike advances. I don't. Oh, and Rod also advanced. I don't.
This horse took a late bet. It was always being played. And when you see these horses that are coming back that are taking money like this, you have to pay attention. Now, they're not always correct, but when I saw that, and then when this horse was going to the gate, went from 5.5 to 1 to 4 to 1. I mean, they were betting this horse into this 2-horse or the 3-horse. It was 2 to 5 in the race. But I mean, the horse never really looked like a loser to me. Well, I don't know what you think, Rod, but
no, I mean he got a really good setup too. So I mean that's definitely a big plus.
But the 3 had a perfect trip. The 3's 2 to 5. He's supposed to win off that trip. I mean, you're 2 to 5 and you have a pot.
Yeah,
you're supposed to win.
Max, that horse did not look good going into the half. He seemed really lazily gated to the far turn, like Gingras was just trying to keep him together.
No, when Gingras 2 to 5, he's on the front in that situation. He's not sitting like that. I mean, let's just be real about it.
Yeah, he wasn't himself tonight, which is fine. We move on.
I mean, it would be fine except for the $80,000 lost on that horse to win. There is someone somewhere punching a massive hole in the wall as a result of making such a ludicrous bet on a 2 to 5 shot.
On a trotting. Yeah, exactly.
We move back to London for the second leg of their pick 4, which need some sort of moniker for just how ludicrous then the entire sequence is. It is the sequence that must be won, because in all of these races there will be a horse that crosses the finish line first. If we know which one it is, that's just a miracle for us. Race 8 is a claiming event for filly and mare pacing horses. $4,000 purse for a $7,000 tag. Now there's a $40,000 lifetime. The condition 8 going postward here. Rod, you're the deepest of all of us in this leg. You're taking 4.
Yeah, 4 deep here. The 2 Cashmere Ivy last week got stuck inside, had a lot of late pace, and I expect this horse to be confident coming into this race. Inside post again, should be aggressive and firing early. We'll make the lead and probably take a 2-hole trip. The 5 Ben's Jenna. I'm not real keen on this horse. She's missed a month, but the horse is quick enough coming from Mohawk and has had some small track success. So I'll use this horse just as a precaution here. The 6 Lady Lakeshore. This is another one. Last week just had no prayer from that spot. Was way, way far back. Drops back down to a level where she was at 2 back, came first over, and just got beat. Raced very well there and took play. You get an outside post, she'll be following cover, probably be following the 5 all the way up. And then the 8, Stonebridge Drama. Last week, just a brutal trip first over. They battled the whole way. She just had no breaks given to her last time. But outside of that, she's been in good form. She just needs to work out a trip from post 8, and she should be pretty close. So I'm 2, 5, 6, and 8.
Mr. Bribosi, your remarks.
Okay, so I'm changing the ticket a little because in the 9th race the 6 is scratched. Okay, so I'm going to add one in here, and I'm going to add one in here, and that's the 2, which under Rod's recommendation, if the 2 had trouble last week, I'll add that one. So we'll use the 2 off that trouble. The 3, Karma Blue Chip. This horse was racing 15 claimers at Flamborough. Did win at London October 28th in a 15 claimer. Now is in here for 7 off 2 qualifiers, but the last one was a winning one. Draws inside. At least the horse is decent on the race. So I'll use that one. The 4 Smile Style, racing Miami Valley, Dayton. Now drops into a claim. and has raced in Canada before. Was back at Flamborough and Woodbine back in December and November, and raced decent enough in those spots. And St. Louis gets on here, so I'll use that one. And then the 8 drama, like Rod said, it's last time. I'd post and get a better trip. 2, 3, 4, 8.
I am too deep. I start with the 6. Lady Lakeshore, 2 starts back, won a decent mile here against similar over a sloppy track at London as the favorite. Sure, should have won, but in that situation, still was coming, had to come from off the pace, missed by only a half length. I'll forgive her for that. My heart is open to using Lady Lakeshore in this race despite the loss, because outside of that, the only other horse I see having a chance is the 7 Few D'Artifice, who has shown speed off the gate before, will probably show speed again from this outside spot, takes a ton of money, usually gets bet in this condition, and it seems like the horse that could just get to the front, and if she doesn't falter, go all the way. But of course, that stipulation, if they do not falter, they could go all the way, could stand for many horses in all of the sport or any race whatsoever. Kind of vague in this circumstance, but it's the best way I can describe Few D'Artifice's chances in this race, because she has to go from the outside spot. There's really no other option for her. I'm 6'7". I despise everyone else in that race. Race 9 is a race that I despise even more, because I'm singled in this race. Yes, I singled a horse in this race, and you both use them. You both use her, I should say, in this $7,000 claiming event, again for an hours of 40,000 lifetime. A field of 8 in total. Mike, you take 3.
3 deep. The 3, if you knew, Susie raced just fairly last time. I'd say even off the bench, but has back lines and draws well. So use that for Edam's. This horse drops in this race, and finished 3rd last time with a wide trip. So, well, actually not a wide trip, but a tracking type trip, let's say. So another one that draws half decently. And then the 8 Trilogy. This horse has a ton of speed. Gets a 2nd tier spot, needs to get out early and probably be where she likes to be. But I think she has the most speed in the race if she can get where she needs to go, and she gets up front, could be tough to carry. 8, 4, 8.
Rod, you're too deep.
Well, I was too deep with the scratch of the 6 here, but I'm gonna add a horse in this leg to counteract my 6 being scratched with the 1. Keen as a bean from the rail off the qualifier has missed time, but qualified decently. The track was a bit off that day as well, so I'll give a little bit of an excuse there. The 3, if you knew Susie, I think is very obvious in this spot. 2nd start back after missing about 6 weeks. Should be fairly game and ready to go. And then the 8 Trilogy is right there every single week. Last 6 starts, she's been 3rd 4 times, a 2nd and a 4th. So you're going to get a bit of a different trip here, not on the lead. So I think that's going to be a good thing for her. So I'm going to go 1, 3, and 8.
I single if you knew Susie. I don't see much else in this race. She makes the 2nd start off the bench. She has to improve off that 1st start back. I would have to start theorizing outside of that. Final leg with 2 minutes to go. I'm 1-8. Ideal Toy has a lot of speed, tends to use it from the inside. That speed could also bring Dynasty Sealster into it, who tends to race well off of a pocket spot. So my ticket is 1-3 with 6-7 with 3 with 1-8. That's $1.60 for 20 cents. Mike, you.
In the last race, I'm 5, 6, 8, 9. So at least my ticket 1, 3, 7 with 2, 3, 4, 8 with 3, 4, 8 with 5, 6, 8, 9. It's 28.80. I actually didn't play.
Rod.
I'm 4 deep, going 1, 5, 6, and 8 in the final leg, which makes my ticket 28.80. And with that scratch of the 6 in leg number 3, I used the 1. So same ticket cost.
All right, 1 minute to post time here, where I am what I am's. The favorite at 6-5, J-Port High Class. The 2nd choice at 7-5, and the 3rd choice at 7-1. That is the 7 HA Houston. This pick 4 will pay either $3 or $30. I don't
$1
know.
million.
It's paying $3. I think it's for 20.
What if it pays $1 million?
No, I doubt it. It's probably like 6,000 in
No,
the pool.
Mike, that's one of Rod's references. He's doing Austin Powers.
Duh, Mike.
Yeah, you didn't do it right though.
Why? Because I didn't Donald Trump the L's?
I can't picture
Million?
that's not no. Have you seen?
You have to be like.
Powers?
No, I said Donald Trump the L's.
Yeah, but my point is that's not where the reference comes from.
I know it's not.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
I'm doing two
sure.
references.
I love when Ray's back. It just the dynamic changes so much in this whole thing. I mean, it's just unbelievable. It really is. It's a lot more fun. I have to say, it's more fun. It really is.
Guess what? They're going to the gate.
Oh, that means I gotta call the race.
Bang, bang.
I wish Ken Workington said that before every race. Oh, I gotta do this again. Field of 7 lining up. 6-5 favorite, the 1. I am what I am. Now down to even money. 8-5 on J-Port High Class. 7 in line to the start, and now away and trotting. All but I am what I am. On a gallop he is. As Del Crest Ronnie to the center moves out for the front. H.A. Houston far outside. Now ducking to the pocket around the first turn. J-Port High Class races third with Majestic Hero back fourth. Away fifth, Setting Day. Amish Paradise trots sixth. I am what I am back on a trot, but seventh. And last, up the backside, Del Crest Ronnie leading H.A. Houston by almost 2 lengths, a gap of 3.5 then to J-Port High Class in third. Majestic Hero still fourth through a 30-1 opening quarter. Setting Day gaps more in fifth, about 7 lengths off the leader. Now about to inherit fourth as Majestic Hero goes on a gallop to join I Am What I Am in the back of the pack. Amish Paradise takes over fifth. To the top of the stretch for the first time. Back confusion there. Majestic Hero went into I Am What I Am. Caused him to break again. So there's 5 left up here. These are the ones we care about. Del Crest Ronnie ahead by a length and a half. Second, still H.A. Houston, J-Port High Class third, and beginning to float outside through a 102 and 2.5 mile. They blaze to the backside. Setting Day catches cover from J-Port High Class, who now makes his move after the leader up the back stretch. H.A. Houston sits inside, is now Del Crest Ronnie called upon, but now matched strides by J-Port High Class to the outside, sticking a neck in front, coming to 3/4. H.A. Houston behind them, 2.5 lengths, sitting third as they pass that station in 1:33 and 2, 31 seconds, a sprint to the final turn. Del Crest Ronnie in front by a nose from J-Port High Class to the outside. H.A. Houston still third, a long ways back to Setting Day to the top of the lane. Del Crest Ronnie holding off J-Port High Class, but he's resurgent to the outside. And now J-Port High Class sticking a nose in front while Del Crest Ronnie battles back to the inside to win. Del Crest Ronnie narrowly from J-Port High Class. H.A. Houston third, and the rest of them crossed the wire, 203 and 3.
You can never bet the 7. I mean, seriously. You just forget that horse for the rest of its life.
Yeah, I'll just wait for a driver change on that horse.
No, it wouldn't matter.
It would. Minus 40.
I mean, that is how, seriously, if you could take the 4 in there, good luck. Seriously, I just cannot.
Well, it's okay. We have another chance because Mohawks pick 4 starts in 14 minutes. They're back to back to back, baby.
That's how we've been doing it.
If your wallet was just lined with cash and by this point not yet empty,
if you bet London, you'll be broke. If it's lined with cash in about a week, you'll be broke.
Oh, that's
seriously.
Ouchies. That's London's comment to that. Ouchies. I feel like that'd be a great idea.
Stop doing that.
What do you mean? I'm actually coughing. I'm trying to clear
No,
my.
you're not. That's not an actual.
What do you mean? No, I'm not. How do you know how my body works?
Because you're like, some bullshit.
Wait. How is it? Okay.
Uh,
How is it that my entire life has become such a farce that
well,
even
listen,
when I
A
cough,
fart.
nobody could just arbitrarily be talking 1 second like, oh yeah, it's the Fort London, and just keep on talking. Nobody does that. Like you just like take a breath in between. Okay, here we go.
does your trachea, all right, the tube that carries oxygen,
Remember who you're talking to here.
does your trachea that carries oxygen from your mouth through the opening of the epiglottis down to the lungs, does it
Down
not
to your butthole.
Does it not, Rod? I'm talking to the doctor here. Not line sometimes with phlegm.
Yes, I believe you sound very Flemish.
Flemburo?
That's a bit of a dry cough, if anything. A fake dry one. I don't hear anything productive coming up. I didn't see you spit anything.
I'm not trying to score opiates from you.
You're not exciting at all.
I'm not trying to pull off some kind of performance. I'm not Matthew McConaughey going, I got AIDS.
Right, we'll get you some codeine after the show.
There are many people out there saying I need something a lot stronger, and no, I will not take injections of Valium to my cranium. I refuse. I simply refuse to be anesthetized like that. I've seen One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I saw what they did to Jack Nicholson. They took his brain out. No,
they didn't.
And then Chief got so upset that he threw a water fountain out a window. And I aspire to be that vengeful one day. Let's start this Mohawk pick 4 with race 7. $16,000 purse, 10 going postward. Mike, you're 4 deep.
I'm 3 deep.
You're 3 deep.
Yeah, I'm not sure what ticket you're looking at.
Rod's 4 deep. You're 3 deep to start it.
Yeah, 3 deep. This is Trotter's now. It's 6,000, kind of the mid condition here, and a lot of horses moving up, some coming down. The 2 is one that's moving up, and that's Mr. Magic, who always races well for Osceola. Crushed last time. When this horse stays flat, is very fast, very good. Won times last year, and fits at this level when he's right. The question is will he stay flat? So use that one. The 3 is racing very well at the claim. Bud back has a second. Lost to top those races and really didn't get setups either. This horse needs to be up close and kind of, getting a decent trip to win. But I think will be favored again. And then the 6, Zeus Lightning, who missed last week, but that win from the 8 hole on January 25th was very good. That was a Saturday night. And, that was when McNair was really driving very well, and getting a lot of things home. That was a really good race. I like this horse. He is 13 years old, but still fits at this level and is capable. So 2, 3, 6.
Rod, you're 4 deep to start this pick 4.
Yeah, I was just doing the wave with my arms.
Cool.
I am
else
4
do you
deep.
wave, Rod? What were you going to use, your foot?
The man can use any appendage he wishes so long as it creates a wave motion.
Okay, no, don't use appendage. No.
Mm-hmm. I'm 4 deep. I'm 4 deep. Starting with the 2, Mr. Magic. He's been having some braking issues, but outside of that, this horse is extremely fast, and it's second start for Carmen Auciello. 9-time winner last year. Just needs to stay flat, and he's got a shot. Even on the slight class hike, I think he's worth a play. The 3 on the sly, he's been very consistent, and third start in the Bill Budd barn, who's been.
We got 30 seconds to the Meadowlands.
Pretty hot.
Keep going.
I think this horse is a use again. Take a little bit of a price with the 5 Tiki Taka last week. Just sat the rail, kind of got shuffled. You get Doug McNair tonight, and the track has been favoring closers. So throw that one on your tickets for a decent price play. And then the 10, She's Got Pizzazz. Another one that's a closer. should be coming from off the pace and made $83,000 last year. This horse fits well and should be close at a decent price with Bob McClure jumping on. So I'm 2-3-5-10 to start.
Ray likes horses in the start of the Mohawk pick 4 too, but we have to take a break from it because the second leg of the Meadowlands pick 4 is going to gate. 2-1 currently on the 3 Tyson. He's the favorite. Second choice at 3-1, the 9 Las Adida Lady. Mike alive to the 3, 4, 7, 8, and 9. Rod only alive to the 3, 7, 8, and 9. So expect a division among the hosts here if Chief Justice crosses the line first. Field of 10. Making their way to the start. Often trotting Total Diva, dashing from the center for the top. Tyson trying to protect position to the inside as now he crosses to the pylons to take the pocket to the first turn. Hashtag made you look wide in third while Mr. Houdini's carried to the center of the track, moving up for the front. Muscle Fashion trots fifth to the opening quarter. Sixth and outside, Las Adida Lady now venturing towards the top. Back then to Mystical Motor, fourth to last. Third to last are also eighth, Alex the Great, sitting ninth, Chief Justice, and trailing Take a Wish. 29 seconds for the first quarter. Mr. Houdini leisurely making his way to the lead over Total Diva, now yielding for the pocket. Las Adida Lady left uncovered as Tyson vacated from fourth to catch cover up towards the half. Las Adida Lady edging past Mr. Houdini to now take the top, moving towards the half. Tyson outside, now moving within a length of the lead through a 57 split. 28 seconds that second quarter. Total Diva locked in fourth as hashtag made you look, tipped outside from fifth to the far turn. Second over comes Muscle Fashion as now Tyson moves to clear the lead from Las Adida Lady. Still third, Mr. Houdini now beginning to edge outside, supplying cover to hashtag made you look, stalled, coming to three quarters. Off stride from the pocket went Las Adida Lady, so that leaves Tyson on a loose lead to three quarters. Tyson in front by about 3.5. Mr. Houdini gives pursuit. Off cover from the back, Mystical Motor now ranging up into third, rather Muscle Fashion through 125 and 1/3 quarter through the lane. Tyson leg weary, still in front by 2.5. Mr. Houdini inside of Total Diva with room to trot. Up the inside comes Chief Justice and Muscle Fashion to the center of the track. They all envelop Tyson. Mr. Houdini the first to the punch. Muscle Fashion to the outside. Fights past to win here by about a neck. Mr. Houdini second, tight for third, 156 and 2.
This horse was flat last week.
Okay.
Where was the saddle the entire way around? Oh my god.
Mystical Motor sat a little too far off the pace by the looks of it.
The one. What did I miss? God.
No,
this
thanks.
is going to be a really good ticket now.
Yeah, because you couldn't have that horse.
Horse didn't really have much trot off the helmet last out, but you know what was different?
Yeah, but it's Osceola. That's the thing. It's Osceola.
No, what was different this time was the final quarter was 31 seconds.
Yeah, that doesn't hurt.
Well, they've been. There's a really strong headwind at the Meadowlands tonight. They're coming home in 31 and 30 every race.
Tyson definitely did not like that. He did not like that.
There's no excuse whatsoever. I mean, but neither did the 8. I mean, the 8's probably supposed to win off of that trip too.
Now, who does Ray like in the first leg of that Mohawk pick 4? Thanks for asking, everybody.
We did.
I like Mr. Magic, who makes a second start off of a little bit of a hiatus. He stayed flat when winning as the favorite, going first over, made all of the right moves to make me think he could handle moving up in class. So long as he stays flat. If he stays flat, I see him going forward, which is what you want to see out of horses. You never see a horse go backwards. They don't have a reverse button. Gold Edition, I use. None of you guys use this horse. I don't know why. 3 starts back, was fairly aggressive against tougher horses, albeit He faltered to finish 10th by 11. Then after that, finished 7th by 10 lengths. Not appealing finishes. I know. I understand.
Why are you
However,
talking like a creeper?
Yeah,
Wait,
I don't get it.
why? I remember back in golden days of the 1960s
You had to start, didn't you?
when
You better
my
hurry
hero,
up. You better hurry
when
up.
my hero, Mr. Marble Melon King, said,
Is he related to John Mellencamp?
Judge
No.
a man not by the content of his skin, rather by the color of his character. He didn't say it like that. He said it in a more eloquent way that I could not, and that's why he's my hero. Look, gents and gentettes, my voice may be weird, but my ideas are
Weird.
frothal. Okay?
Oh, you
My
were going
idea?
somewhere else with that.
That's because your head is not in my head. Thank you, and good night. I like Gold Edition. I didn't get
Zero
to
head,
finish
Rod.
this. I didn't get to finish Gold Edition, okay? My thought is that if this horse improves off that last race, because this horse is capable of going some decent miles, perhaps the drop in class is what knocks this horse in the noggin and gets him a trotting. If not, then I also like Tiki Taka, who has raced well at this level in the past. In his most recent start, sat at the inside most of the way and was gaining ground with a 27 and change final quarter to finish 4th. Now, that sort of off the pace effort might help him get to the winner's circle here, given that the front has been very bad. He's not going to be on the front. He's going to be in a stocking spot, and that stocking spot could propel him to the winner's circle. That's my thoughts. I'm sticking to it. I'm 2-4-5. Okay? All right?
Thank God you're done talking.
Yeah, because I mean, now we don't have any time to talk about the rest of these races. But hey, by the way, the two's off stride parade.
Wait, how many minutes to post are we?
I don't know, maybe like 2.
Oh. Well, we can finish this. It's not my fault.
And London's going.
Back to
in a
back
minute.
to back. Okay. Second leg of the Mohawk Pick 4. Non-winners of 3 or 50,000 lifetime. A field of 8. Mike, you're 4 deep.
Yeah, the 1 drops out of non-winners of 6,000 into this race and should be okay. The 3 chocolate milk toast was decent off the bench, had 2 far to come, and now will likely be favored. The 5 vintage way raced really well in that Blizzard series, kicked 26 and 2 last time, and the 7 Betsy had 2 moved in that final. So 1-3-5-7.
How did we go from 14 minutes to 0 in 8 minutes? I don't know. Rod, you're 3 deep in leg 2.
Yeah, 3 deep. The 3, I think, is a must play from an inside post. Travis Cullen, Dwayne Marfisi. I like this driver change. I think this horse is going to be aggressive. Again, was aggressive in that qualifier and did really well there. Was outstanding first start off the shelf. Should be in play again. The 5 vintage way I think is very obvious for the McNairs, coming from the Blizzard series and closing a million miles an hour. And then the 7, Betsy, another one that's very obvious from the Blizzard series. She should be up close, and she just has to get clear sailing this week. So I'm 3-5-7.
I'm in entire agreement with Mike outside of Betsy. I don't like Betsy, so I'm 1-3-5. I feel like Betsy would be a much bigger contender if she wasn't just hitting the board in those races in the Blizzard. I wanted to see
She was
a bit
good
more.
last time. I will say that. She was good last week.
I'm nonetheless 1-3-5. Race 9. Now there's a 6,100. Purse of $16,000 with 8 going postward. Mike, you take 3 of them.
Yeah, the one Taj Mahal over was actually bet last time. This horse was racing at the top level last year at this time, so just really needs a wake up to win. The 5, Naughty Lady B, no chance last time. Did kick in 27 at a huge number. Now gets a much better level and McNair back. And then the 7, Lange Jenna Lee, was really good on the 24th of January. Got picked off late, and then no chance last time from the 9 hole 157.
Rod, just your ticket because we're 10 seconds away.
1, 2, 5, 6, 8. So the full ticket is 2, 3, 5, 10 with 3, 5, 7 with 1, 2, 5, 6, 8 with 2, 4, 8. It's $36 for 20 cents.
Mike.
236 with 1357 with 157 with 310 2880. It's on the website.
All right, mine is 245 with 135 with 257 with 4510 1620. The price. As this race will, of course, overlap with London because God forbid, God forbid one racetrack runs before another.
You know what? The last 2 weeks we've had it timed perfectly, and one racetrack had to screw it all up again.
Which racetrack that is, I am not legally obligated to say.
It's
Me
cold
either.
out though, so they might not be. I mean, just saying. It's
Race 7
and
from Woodbine
coordinate
Mohawk
very
Park
well.
in motion at the start. Now away and trotting with Bautista towards the outside, blasting off. Tiki Taka also shows speed to take control. A gap of now 2 to Mr. Magic trotting third, moving to the first turn. Gold Edition wide and fourth from On the Sly, overtaking that spot. Sitting sixth then, she's got Pizzazz from the second tier away. Seventh, Zeus Lightning. Trotting eighth, 8 o'clock Storm, leading Dottie second to last and trailing the field, Old Jack Magic, 28-3 for the first quarter. Up the backside, Tiki Taka in control by a length and 3/4 from Bautista, while Mr. Magic sits in third ahead of On the Sly, still trotting fourth past 3/8. Fifth then, now locked in, Gold Edition. As outside comes She's Got Pizzazz, tracking that covers Zeus Lightning with about 7 lengths to make up on the leader. Back then to 8 o'clock Storm, still third to last. Second to last remains Dottie. Old Jack Magic gaps from the rear of the field. 57-2 for the half, 28-4 for that second quarter into the far turn On the Sly. From fourth, now tips first over, up into third, carrying She's Got Pizzazz into contention second over, while chasing Tiki Taka on the lead. Bautista still in the pocket. Mr. Magic then shuffled to fourth, coming towards 3/4 with Gold Edition racing in sixth, stride for stride with Zeus Lightning from third over as they pass 3/4 in 127-2. A 30-second breather for Tiki Taka trotting into the stretch On the Sly, beginning to falter to the outside while Bautista looks for room off cover. Then She's Got Pizzazz deeper on the track. Zeus Lightning, while Mr. Magic looks for room to trot. He's weaving and moving around horses as they come into the final eighth. Tiki Taka drifting out for Bautista to slip through. Zeus Lightning to the outside and Dottie deeper on the track, but Bautista beat them all to the line, winning by a nose over Zeus Lightning, and Dottie rallying late in 156-3. Okay, so none of us had that horse.
Because you
Yeah,
couldn't.
because the horse never wins. I don't know how the 6 lost from where he was.
Meantime, they're past 3/4 at London in 129-2. Ben's Jenna, okay, was bet down to 1-2 and is blown away from this field. All right, leads by about 6 and is really going kind of fast without any encouragement. Look at her go. That's Ben's Jenna in front. Wow, 158. Wow, she came home in 28-3. You don't see that at London in February.
Yeah, that's why the horse was 10 in front.
Huh. All right. Now all of the tracks have finally calmed. All the pick fours are underway, and my ticket's dead in all of them. I do not believe that is emblematic of who I am as a person. I am not a loser. I am just a winner under different circumstances.
Oh, and we should probably give a shout out to a couple people.
Only a couple.
Terry Wilson, watching right now. Part of the NAHU crew. Bang, bang. Sean Beer got his 2,500th win the other night on Wednesday
That's
night.
great. Good for him. Nice.
2,500?
Yeah.
You won 2,500 on Sean Beer?
Sean Beer won his 2,500th race.
Oh, I thought you were talking about money.
No.
It's harder to win 2,500 races.
That's like 2,400 more than Rod.
Not
That
quite
is
that many,
true.
but
That is true.
But congrats to him, and he tunes in every week. So I tried to get him on the show. He didn't want to come on this week. We'll get him on eventually.
Yeah, our schedule is just so tight we couldn't book Sean Beer in.
No,
How is
he
it
didn't
with
want to.
us?
He didn't want to come on this week, which is fine.
Okay.
We'll get him
Okay.
on. Shout out to Gabe eating cupcakes right now. Gina.
Is that his name? Gabe eating cupcakes right now?
Yeah.
Is that like German? That
Maybe.
what is it?
All these pick fours are going to pay good tonight.
And I think we have to kind of discuss the biggest issue in horse racing right now.
Racism?
What?
No,
Oh, okay. Not that one.
that's not an issue.
That's not an issue.
What do you mean? We run races all of the time. Like I feel like we got to run a little less. That's what I'm talking about with racism, you know?
I'm talking about Pennsylvania.
We're not joking on this show.
No.
Not.
That's
Pennsylvania
true.
is having a lot of issues currently. The proposed budget by their governor. What's your guys' governor's name?
Tom
Why
Wolf.
do you say like he's an alien? he's just
Well, he's a Democrat, which is just as.
now be fair.
You got to be fair. His proposed budget basically eliminates horse racing in Pennsylvania, and
Well, it doesn't eliminate it, but it
might as well eliminate it.
Well, no, you're using different terms. It does hurt. It would hurt the industry because about 83% of the funding, actually, slots fund about 83% of all of Pennsylvania horse racing purses.
And so the budget is basically saying that he doesn't want horse racing, and it would bankrupt horse racing in Pennsylvania, and there would be no more. So, with that being said, I'm only going to say one negative thing, and that negative thing is I told you this years ago that this would happen.
So what is that? So what does that have to do with anything, Rod?
I've been telling horsemen to protect their money and find new ways to create revenue.
And like everybody else.
Yeah, it's
not just me. It is
this
everybody else.
This is not a new revelation.
No,
there have
it's
been
not.
Like 50 people standing on the hill screaming this.
But you know what the problem is? Nobody's done it. And now you see what happens because they haven't done it. They have zero protection now. So now they're standing there begging the government not to pass this budget because they haven't protected their money.
Well, here the issue though is that I feel a lot of people inside the industry don't necessarily know how to do that. And so it fuels the complacency of many people that rely on these subsidies and such to just rely on it because there haven't really been any sort of real innovative ideas brought forth to refuel racing because I hate to be that guy, but we aren't necessarily in a great spot as a sport in the 21st century.
Well, let me tell you this much. With the way that things have been going, which is a downhill, I mean, it's straight downhill, let's be honest.
It is.
For the last 15 years, it's been straight downhill. The slot money that came in, everybody thought was the saving grace of horse racing, and it's not. It's there for now.
Well, it has been for a good while.
Well,
I mean, there were a lot of tracks that stayed open back then, just waiting for these slot machines to arrive. If you recall, before all these casinos were built,
I'm from Chicago.
The Meadows was racing for $3,000 a race and stuff like that, and a lot of these places stayed around just to get the slot monies.
I'm from Chicago. Trust me, I know all about that.
Okay, well, just tell it like it is.
I'm pretty sure, yeah, Chicago's still waiting for their casino.
Yeah, and
so what did Ontario do a couple years ago? Whenever they pulled their money, what did they do?
Ontario is now funded for 19 more years.
Mm-hmm.
They have funding through like 2039.
But they made a lot of changes to be able to get that money.
Exactly. Now here's the problem. in the U.S. I'll say this in the U.S. Ontario has done their due diligence, and they have set themselves up for success for 20 years.
Yes.
Now, in the U.S., nobody's done that. You look at programs that have slot machines or slot revenue going into their purse account, and these programs have not done anything. And a lot of these programs need to be done through the legislator. So that's step number one. Go to the legislator and say, we need to be able to protect this money for future investment. So instead of having, Joe Blow from uh, anywhere come in and say and get elected governor and say, oh yeah, I just don't want to give the horsemen their money anymore, so I'm going to appropriate it to this. And by the way, I can do it because it says so in the bill, the original bill. There needs to be an amendment in these bills that says the horsemen are allowed to put back money for future endeavors, whether it be marketing, whether it be purse funding, whether it be whatever. There needs to be that safe haven of money for the future, because you cannot sustain yourself as soon as the governor or any legislator decides to change their mind. They've done it in Florida, they did it in Ontario, and luckily in Ontario the government backed down and they gave horse racing their money. They're trying to do it in Pennsylvania, and it's going to happen everywhere. Everywhere that has slots, it's going to happen. So this needs to be protected money, and it starts by going to the legislator. If you don't do it, you're just wasting your time. I mean, you're biding your time until they do it. And then you're going to scramble just like Pennsylvania is right now. And I'm not calling anybody out in Pennsylvania. But at the same time, I'm calling everybody in the industry out.
But they do this almost every. They're offering these months.
Everybody
like every
waits.
Year.
Everybody waits. There needs to be, if you're getting $229 million a year from slot revenue for the purse account, some of that money, whether it be $10 million a year, $10 million is still $10 million. You have that safeguard, a little bit of a safeguard, just in case a few years down the road the governor decides to do this again. You have that safeguard, and there's a safety net of money there where you can say, well, we don't want this to happen, but just in case it does, here's enough money to get us through until something could change.
Other ideas besides.
Well, I understand trying to create an amendment for it to protect, like, to guarantee the money of the horsemen, but at the same time, they should already be investing. Like, the whole industry should be investing. We gotta talk about this after this race of the Meadowlands, because race 8's coming up. I hate that we have to interrupt this conversation.
So don't. Let's just keep it going.
All right, fine. Yeah, none of us are live. Well, no one's live in this before anyway.
Yeah.
No.
So it seems almost backwards that you have to basically admit with this amendment, right? You're basically admitting that horse racing itself cannot profit on its own.
Well, it can't.
It can't.
It can't because of slot machines.
Okay.
Slot machines are taking all of the revenue from horse racing because it's fast action. And fast action will get action over slow action.
Well, it's not just fast action. No, it's much lower takeout. It's you don't have to buy programs. It's you don't have to fight to try to figure out what's going on. There's a lot of things that in play.
There are, but the main factor is fast action. That is the main factor, because if you go around and ask anybody that's at a casino, they can sit there, they can push that button 5 times by the time they finish one sentence. If you ask them to go to the racetrack, they can tell you that sentence and wait 25 minutes for the next race to go off. That's the problem. It's not takeout, because Joe Blow doesn't know about takeout. We know about takeout because we're seasoned in these terms, but the average gambler does not know a damn thing about takeout. And
nor do they really care at that stage.
Right. If you're a $2
but okay.
No, if you're a $2 bettor, you don't care about takeout. It does not matter to you.
Okay, but you don't like horse racing is not necessarily catering to the $2 bettor. You need the bettors that are actually legitimately gambling day in, day out, week in, week out, and
You
those
need
guys are betting
them.
sports or betting in low takeout bet. Not
You need
the
those
better.
people, but the bread and butter of your betting does not come from those people. It comes from the people who are going through on their ADW right now and looking among the track list to see the next one that's going to race, and they're going to bet $5, $2, $5, whatever it is. And then they're going to, after that race is over, they're going to find the next track that's going, and they're going to bet $2 or $5. Those are the people that nobody caters to, that nobody cares about. They don't care about takeout. They just want the fast action. They're not at the casino, they're at home.
There are even people when you go to a racetrack in the simulcast bars that are just walking around. Once a race goes, they're back at the machine. They're punching random numbers because they just want to be involved. That's
yeah.
A lot of those kind of, for lack of a better term, they're compulsive. A lot of those compulsive gamblers are out there.
Oh yeah.
Not really what, as far as somebody that that's betting 4 days a week, basically. Maybe more depending on how things go. And I enjoy the sport. I enjoy a lot of, but I mean, somebody that needs that's 30, 40, 50,000 a year. I mean, guys like me are the ones that you want to keep in it. I could take that money and go bet sports. I could do that. And it's probably a lot better for me if I did that. But that's not what I enjoy. But what I'm saying is the $2 better isn't necessary. I mean, that's great, but I feel like that you need to cater to your everyday legitimate horse player that's playing consistently, that already loves the sport, that already is involved, that already knows what's going on, that already can bring their kids to the racetrack and things like that love it genuinely.
But here's the thing, Mike. Those people don't do that. They don't do any of that stuff. Those people have been catered to. Outside of reducing takeout to bare minimums, which the tracks are not going to do, by the way.
So how does horse racing make money? Be self-sustaining.
How do they be self-sustaining? So
how is it self-sustaining in Hong Kong when their pools are 13, 14, 15 million dollars a race in the win pool? How are they doing it?
Well, number one, horse racing in Hong Kong is the sport. It's like the top sport there. It always has been.
Wow. You don't have football or baseball or hockey.
And when the Jockey Club, the Hong Kong Jockey Club, is a nonprofit that donates all of their profit for other things, medical research, education.
Great. But they're self-sustaining is my point.
Yeah.
They're self-sustaining. So it can be done.
And they market. They market.
Yeah. It can be done, though. So if you do it, and you have, tracks that can do it, things. I mean, they have a lot more gambling over there. But what I'm saying is there are places that do it. So why can't we do it?
Because
I'm
not going to touch on that one because I have relationships with a lot of people, and especially people with influence, and I'm not going to touch on that because
I'm not saying anything bad. I'm asking a question.
Here's the way I see it, all right?
Because if you're worried about money, then and the sport can't be self-sustaining. What you need to do is try to figure out ways that it can be. That's what you need to change.
Well, it can get back to being self-sustainable. It takes time and it takes effort that the people in charge don't want to put in. Well, it's too much.
Here's what we have to remember. We have to remember back to the time when racing was able to sustain itself, which asks the question of, was racing ever able to sustain itself?
Yes.
To an extent, it was. You have tracks like Churchill Downs, Santa Anita Park, those kind of legacy race tracks that could be there for eternity unless CNN decides Santa Anita should shut down. They can exist for as long as history stands because they are essentially American institutions. Dating back to like the Great Depression and all that such, where the value of the dollar was able to stretch a lot farther than to an extent it can today. So then this question is, when did racing stop being self-sustainable? Was it in the 1990s when slot machines started becoming more more ubiquitous around the country? Was it in the 2000s with the advent of the internet? That's a question that I am unfortunately ignorant in. However, it's important in order to understand what circumstances ripped racing from that spot to where now it has to leech off of other industries in order to essentially exist. A lot of the problems racing has to do with just the fact that it's an institution that has lagged. You can't you compare it to something like the NFL, to baseball, and all those other sports where they essentially don't even have to advertise. People, when I'm growing up, I would have to explain to people what harness racing was, and it was sometimes, I'm gonna admit, it was sometimes embarrassing, even though I enjoyed it, and it's simply because I was this lone wolf then with this sort of niche appreciation for something that is not in the American mainstream. When you go out to recess, you can pick up a football and you understand the NFL. It's already appealed to you. You pick up a baseball bat, you understand the MLB. Those sports have that they're ingrained into American culture, and partially why they're so popular. Racing doesn't understand that they're fighting uphill against those institutions, and as such have a much smaller portion of the attention economy than any of these other sports.
But I would argue with you, Ray, in some senses that the NFL now revolves around gambling, revolves around it, revolves around fantasy football, revolves around sports betting, and a lot of their attention revolves around gambling.
I'm not saying that there's no interest in America to gamble. People love to gamble, but they'll gamble on football because they've been exposed to it. It's something they grew up with. It's so much more a part of American
There's truth to
culture
that. You're right.
than racing is nowadays. Because back in the 1950s and 1960s, before television and radio came out, you could go to a racetrack. They were so crowded because live entertainment was the main competition back before the advent of digital technologies. And now we are stuck in this crux, in this paradigm shift where everything is transitioning to digital, where you have live attendance, even at like NASCAR and stuff like that, plummeting because people can't afford to go. There's it's an issue that is admittedly more complicated than I think the sport understands. And considering, too, how many Americans don't even want the sport to exist because of the media spin on racing, makes it so much more difficult to try and overcome the state that we're in now, because we don't recognize where the world sees us.
So why then, like you say, the negative spin on racing? Why doesn't racing constantly try to put a positive spin on things? Because there's negative things in football. There's negative people there. That are constantly getting media attention. Yet you don't have that stigma that all football is bad. But yet somehow you get that all racing is bad because they have incidents in certain things. I know we do.
It's an ethical question, and it's a question that we admittedly have to be complacent with because we understand the circumstances. So when a horse breaks down and has to be euthanized, we are admitting that ethically it is acceptable that this horse gave its life to race for people, for profit. While the majority of Americans think it's unethical simply because the horse is having its life lost in the pursuit of profit for people. The reason why they see it as unethical is because that animal, no matter what, we pity animals because they don't have the same consciousness as us people do. Contrarily, in football, we just started talking about the issue of concussions and people coming out of football with deteriorating brains as a result of how many times they get knocked in the head. However, we have a bit of a different look on it because people agree to play football. We aren't admitting that it's unethical for people to play football, but we have a different feeling about it because people are able to make that choice to go forth in it. and they're making money putting their bodies on the line. That is the question that we have a hard time facing in this industry, because we understand that it's part of the game. If a horse gets injured, has to be put down, it's better that the horse gets put down in comfort. But the majority of the country sees it as an animal life lost as a result of the nature of racing. And it's one of those ethical questions that is so difficult to fight, because it's admittedly in a morally gray territory. Is it right
like
for
we're getting lost here, though, like on the actual issue. Like
Well,
we're branching off into 15,000 tangents here.
well, here's the thing with, and this kind of relates to what the original topic was with the governor of Pennsylvania. He doesn't see anything besides, well, it's horse racing. Look at what's happening in horse racing. That's what he sees.
Well,
And that's going to
think
be
it's
what he
difficult
tells
to
the
know
public.
what he sees.
Well,
I think that he sees, okay, I can take this money and put it over here, and that's better than anything else, kind of thing. You know what I mean?
Well, he's basically saying what he's going to say publicly is, I'm going to take this. I want to take this money, put it into your child and grandchild's education instead of into horse racing that does this and this and this, without any idea what he's even talking about. That's what the public is going to say.
It sounds like he has an idea of what he's talking about, though. The whole point is to subsidize scholarships for low-income families. That we can't talk about this with the bias of wanting the money in the first place.
No, I'm not saying that.
To what the governor is intending.
No, I'm saying he's not going to know what he's talking about with horse racing. He's not going to have a clue. And I'll tell you why he's not going to have a clue. Because nobody has given him a clue. Not one single entity in this industry has given anybody in the public an idea about the ins and outs of horse racing.
Okay, so how do we change that then? I mean, how can that be changed?
Give the public access to it. The public cannot even watch a freaking race for free.
Yes, that's true.
You can't even watch a race for free. If you want to gamble on it, you got to pay to watch it. Like, are you serious right now? That is the biggest bar that nobody can even reach. That's a 20-foot high bar without having springs on.
And yeah, that goes to what I was talking about with how we don't recognize we're in a competition with these other sports that you can easily access. Football's on NBC every week. It's on Fox every week. Horse racing is stuck behind so many paywalls that it has no opportunity to get exposed.
So
and we don't realize
and here's the other thing. There have been opportunities to get racing to the public free of charge, and they have not been taken advantage of. And that is why you now see what you're seeing in Pennsylvania, because nobody has any idea what horse racing is about. They have no idea what the ins and outs are. They have no idea about anything with the words horse racing in them.
Well, and plus the people involved. You have a lot of people that are involved with the racetrack, with the horses, with providing the horses with everything that they need.
But nobody knows. Nobody knows any of this.
With all the industry that's created from all these horses and all these races, it's not just the gambling, it's everything else too.
Right. So, and that's why we're sitting here explaining this, because nobody else will. And everybody else is afraid to tell you the truth. We're telling you the truth right now.
I feel like we're not the only ones that are willing to tell the truth.
That's the thing, though. Like if you say, like, okay, the farmers need money or whatever, like, nobody ever balks at that. Nobody ever balks at, hey, the farmers are hardworking and they're providing food and things like that. They're making a living doing that. And people think that, but horse racing should be seen in the same light in a lot of ways. That people are it's agriculture based. And that's how they're making their living. That's how they're out doing what they need to do to survive and support their families.
And the only thing that the government needs to hear is where the tax dollars are coming from in horse racing. If you tell them all the revenue that they get from every single angle of tax dollars, from hay, feed, uh, the water bills at the racetracks,
shipping, all kind
ship,
of stuff.
every single
Right.
aspect. We could sit here for 3 hours and talk about the tax revenue that the horse racing industry brings in just from the agricultural side of it. That doesn't include any slot money or gambling revenue. The gambling revenue we can keep completely separate. It's all the in between stuff, and nobody knows.
So
Nobody knows,
my
and that's all
question
that
is
the
though is
legislator cares about.
like how do you take racing and make it more positive? How do you?
But
That's weird.
again, like when I was growing up, I don't even recall them doing like the Breeders' Cup Challenge series where they're covering the races over the summer.
ESPN used to do a lot more of that. They did.
Mhm. Okay.
You know.
But outside of that, racing exists in a gigantic media in a vacuum. Like you don't there's no sort of content that's created in the same way that football has this massive churn of content, and you could blame part of it for the audience. There isn't a big enough audience to warrant people entering this market, and so it's left into the hands of the few that have the opportunity to. Us, for one, we're content creators in the sport. We have the ability to fill that hole to an extent, but it's not only on us to do that. We have to understand that simple stuff such as like when Jimmy Takter was retiring, some sort of interesting feature where it's a one-on-one with Takter, like that stuff that's so simple like that is what the industry needs to put out, because it's related to the sport, it's human interest, and we have an easy time empathizing with humans. And when you do that, you start to bring people in and start to show them the different colors. It's one thing to see horse racing and go, oh, okay, they run in circles, but you have to increase the depth of the narrative, and you do that by explaining, well, these are some of the people behind it. These are the stories of some of the horses, if they have interesting stories or stories about the race, and all of the cultural context around specific races that they try to do on some of those NBC broadcasts. But we don't do any of that. When it comes down to it, when it comes down to like the Hambletonian, it's okay. These are the horses. This is a time honored tradition. Oh, there goes the race. Okay, we did it. Here's the interview. Bye bye. And then that's the show. And you're sitting there wondering, well, why do people like this?
Well, I'll say it again. If the public has access to free content, they are gonna watch it. Plain and simple.
If it's promoted correctly.
It doesn't have to be promoted at all.
Well, it has to be promoted somewhat.
It does have to be promoted. People have to know about it.
Word of mouth.
People need to know about it.
Word of mouth. Listen, we have promoted this ourselves with $0, with 70,000 plus different people going on our website last year. Okay.
Okay, that's great, but that's not the level that racing needs.
I get that
to sustain itself.
I get that.
So,
but at the same time,
racing itself has to promote itself.
You can promote within the track.
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but if you hear a commercial for the Meadows, all you hear about is the casino.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you hear about. Like I don't hear commercials for the racetrack ever. Do you?
No, Penn National's the same way. When you go to Yonkers, I'm pretty sure you have to go through an exit to get to the grandstand.
Right. I mean, you have to it's very difficult to consume, like you guys said, to consume it because they don't make it easy. Why? I don't understand why.
Well, why is it's because the slots make more money. It's fast action. They bring in, if you go to a slot machine and you sit there for an hour, you can run through $2,000-$3,000 in a slot machine in an hour with the turnover. If you go to the races, you get 2 races. That's it. 2 races in an hour. You might put $50 to $100, and we're pretty good sized players, Mike, you and I. And we might put anywhere from $50 to $200 in those 2 races. Whereas the slot machine, we're churning through $2,000.
See, for me, I mean, a guy like me, I can't. I mean, just my own personal preference, but I'm not the type of guy that wants to sit at a slot machine. I
Well,
might
I'm
do
not
it
either.
for 5 minutes a year, but I want that. I want this puzzle. I want the challenge of the racing. I want to be able to go and watch the horses and develop and be able to set the race up and things like that. That's what draws me to it. Is the factor of it, and yes, it is the game of it. I do, it's pari-mutuel wagering. So you're betting against everybody else. I mean, I like my chances a lot of times. I really do. But, it took what it took my uncle to just expose me to it initially when I was 17 years old for me to fall in love with it. But if I would have never been brought to that, I might still not know about it at 42. I couldn't have found it on my own. Somebody had to take me. I
Yep.
didn't find anything from the television or anything to promote it. I never knew horse racing existed until somebody exposed me to it, and then boom.
Exactly.
You
It all boils down to, and this includes your local government or your state government or even the federal government. They have to know about it. If they know about it and they know everything, if they get details about it and they know where the money is coming from and how much money that the government's making from horse racing existing, they're going to change their minds real quick. And I mean real quick.
I still feel like we have to acknowledge still the fact that in media, when I was doing research on this story, I found three newspaper articles from Pennsylvania newspapers, and every one of them was painting the picture as racing is taking this money, which could go to healthcare, which could go to feeding low income people, and they were a lot of these newspapers were spinning it as if horse racing is this elitist sport where it's money grubbing all these other funds that could go to more, I guess, for lack of a better term, philanthropic causes. And we that's a battle that we have to face and acknowledge, especially since you see CNN. I understand a lot of people who watch this and who are online probably go, CNN, who actually watches that? There's still a news source, and they're actively publishing each horse death at Santa Anita. A, because we know people are going to click it, and B, it riles up the fire against racing. It's something that's inevitable. We can't prevent horse deaths, and we have to acknowledge that, and also either face the consequences of the negativity that's created by our acceptance of that ethical question, or be able to show people, look, like it's unfortunate that this happens. The horses are taken care of the best way possible, and ultimately, it's for the greater good. You can't just show all of the money that it brings in, because if that's the case, then why isn't the coal industry thriving? We know that
Okay.
coal necessarily a it's not a fuel efficient resource. It poisons the environment, and that's why a lot of the competition outside of fossil fuels and such are starting to move towards other sources of energy. The coal industry has toppled over the last couple of years, but it made a ton of money back in the day. That didn't
Okay.
justify its existence.
Something very interesting there, that horse racing in the media is presented as a big elitist culture and things like that. But if you think about it, if you watch what's publicized on your NBCs and during your derbies and during the bigger races, what do you see? You see the upper end of the high earning people are the
Mm-hmm.
ones that are winning the races. They're showing up in their suits and they have their multi-million dollars in the bank, and those are the people that are thriving in horse racing. You don't see the guy that has the three horses in the barn at the Meadows that's scraping out the rent money and stuff like that. That's not what you see. That's
Mm-hmm.
We know it because we're exposed to it, and Rod knows it because he was exposed to it his whole life. But that's not how horse racing is being presented. It's being presented as something that you have to have a lot of money to be involved in. You have to be at the upper end of earth to be able to participate or even to thrive in it. And that's why that it's created that way, because that is the picture that's been painted from the very beginning.
And let
Mm-hmm.
me let me
What's
go
your
off of
take?
that real quick, Mike, and give you a perfect example. And I am not an elitist by any means, and you guys can attest to that too. None of us are. And I claimed a horse a month ago. I claimed half of a horse a month ago. The total price was $8,500 Canadian. Okay, so I was in for about $3,800 US. Okay, that's not a ton of money. It's not a little bit of money, but it's not a ton of money either.
Money. That could be like a month's rent for some people.
Yeah, I mean it's not a little amount and it's not a huge amount, but I'm not an elitist. I took half of that horse. I had to pay half the bills on the horse, and with my average job, I could still afford that because it's not an elitist sport at all, and people just don't
that's
see
what's
that.
been presented, Rod.
Right.
You know what I mean? I mean, now it's starting like recently, like with the fractional ownership and stuff like that. It started to bring a lot of the smaller people like in at a small level and things like that. But when it's presented, especially at the top level, what's presented?
Yeah, I completely agree with you. There's no exposure to anything that's normal in
Exactly.
racing.
It's called the sport of kings.
Yeah, for a
Not the
reason.
sport of people. More the sport of queens nowadays.
So,
too.
but what I'm saying is in order to try to protect these things and everything, to try to protect everyone, not just the little guy, not just the middle guy, not just the huge operations that are winning the $20 million a year. I feel like that you need to be able to create some sort of narrative that allows all those people to have some sort of exposure and to make it.
People will create that narrative when they know the public is watching. The public is not watching. The public can't watch.
That shouldn't be a reason to do that, because that's like saying no one sees that I'm money laundering, so I'm just gonna keep doing it. To be fair, that's the business model.
I mean, that's kind of a bad example.
Yeah.
A really bad one.
That's true, because people are listening like, oh, you're not money laundering? What are you, stupid?
Right.
What we need to do is create more of a narrative that that it is something that people are using to make a living, and that there are people that can get a lot of enjoyment out of it. There are people involved in the sport that pretty much that's their livelihood. That's what they depend on. It's not some sort of elitist thing for everybody. There's a lot of people that are doing it to make a living, and there are a lot of people that are doing it because that's what they love.
Yeah.
I mean,
start with giving the public access to your content, or just content, racing content.
Yeah.
Because people will start getting into that sector. There will be more people in it. We are one of the very few groups in it right now. And I mean very few. And there will be more people to jump into the space because it's available. And more people will be watching. And then I'm going to sit here with my arms out like this on purpose so everybody sees it. And I will say, told you so.
Yes, we have to get at least one Rod, I told you so when you talk about anything.
I'm gonna say it, and I'm gonna say it over and over again. But
if you know anything about Rod, he was there before you even thought you were.
Right, exactly. He knew before
I've been in
knew.
I've been in this conversation for years.
Rod was one of the 12 apostles, believe it or not.
Not that old.
True.
Not that old. But I have been in this space for many years, and you guys know the things that I've been trying to do and doing. So,
but like I said, trying is one thing, but I want to I hate to keep pushing the same thing, but if you want to be able to get the things that you want, have to fight with the hey, we're going to take your money and give it to somebody else thing. How do you do that? How did Canada do it? How what can everyone do to try to change things?
They showed the government how much money they would be losing from all different aspects of the operations. When you put it that way to the government, when you say, government, look, this is that's how you have to say it. Government, look,
Government, look.
If you say it like that, one, they're going to look. And two, you show them exactly what they're going to be missing out on. Millions and millions and millions of dollars of tax revenue from all sorts of angles. And that's all they need to see. As soon as they see all those millions and millions of dollars that they won't be getting because horsemen will move out of state, horsemen will just sell all their equipment and retire, they'll go on unemployment. Those are really the only three options. Because most of these horsemen are not educated past high school.
That's also an agriculture thing too. It's a way of life.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's a very simple thing to present to government. Show them the tax dollars. You show them where their money's coming from and how much money is coming from the racing industry. They quickly change their mind.
Okay. Okay, so you have that numbers. The numbers support the fact that the government's investing the 200 million or whatever it is every year from the money.
But again, why do they
But
again, why do they feel like they can? I feel that part of the reason why is because of the bad publicity racing's gotten. So it seems like a good political move to stop funding it, to try and take that moral stand.
They don't care about that publicity thing. That's the least of their worries.
The politicians do care about it. They absolutely do.
Yeah,
they do care about it.
No, with racing,
people to vote for them.
With racing, that is such a minute thing to them. That's the last thing on their minds. If they say it when they're going up for re-election, if they say, "By the way, I voted for this horse racing thing to keep getting funding, and it saved this community alone $6 million in tax money."
No, what they'd rather say is, "Hey, I voted for the bill that gave $200 million for people to go to school." That's what they'd rather say. That's what.
Yeah,
you're
but then there's always the argument from that opposing politician that's running against them. Well, you cost 12,000 people their jobs. And then
we're not saying it like it's a black and white issue. There's nuance to it.
Right. Then that definitely is.
It's either jobs. It's either jobs or it's education, which can be offset either way. You can argue both ways.
I mainly just bring that up because it's not like Governor Wolf sitting in his office, with a slide whistle going, "I do declare, I think today's the day we eliminate horse racing." It's not like he's a jester just concocting this maniacal and absurdist idea.
No, there's a certain amount of money, so you got to from here to go to there. That's in nature. That's any budget. That's anything.
Yeah.
We're going to take, the $20 we're spending a week on Starbucks and we're going to put it into shoes. There's nobody that's going to argue that. So when people look at it that way, they think, okay, horse racing, well, we really don't need that.
Mm-hmm.
What we need is money for college.
But what the government needs,
dry as it goes, and that's why. And then the media latches onto that, and
what the government needs is tax money, and they're going to lose a lot of it.
But Rod,
if they go that way,
nobody is spinning it that way. Like Ray said, he looked up for it, and all the articles say,
right.
Okay,
nobody's spinning it that way because they don't see that. They don't know how much money.
But why aren't people in the industry spinning it that way?
Because they don't know.
They could write articles too.
They don't know. They're not educated on this type of stuff. They have no idea.
And we also don't really have the same access to media like newspapers as, journalists do.
Okay.
Yes,
but you know what though? There are editorial pages and there are places that you can put it out. And it's not like that it's completely non-existent.
I agree with you on that, and ultimately I feel like what we as an industry rather do. I love HRU, but we have this impulse to submit an editorial to HRU as opposed to the newspaper in our state because we don't want to push it inside the bubble of our own media. As much as I love HRU, we have to recognize that our goal is to penetrate that bubble because
Exactly.
it's those
and
people
and I
that
brought
have
that
the
I brought that up about a month ago about Ron Gerfine. He made a comment about one of the articles and saying uh, somebody, a trainer, didn't care about the publicity of their barn because they didn't respond to him for questions
Okay,
for his
nobody knows
article
what you're
on
talking
HRU.
about.
For his article
that.
on HRU.
I need more context on that.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was doing an article about the 2-year-olds in training.
Okay. Oh, I remember this.
And
Yeah.
yeah, so somebody didn't reply to him. I'm not going to name names, but
I do
somebody didn't
remember.
reply to him, and he got mad about it and made a comment about them not replying, saying that they didn't want publicity and they didn't care about anybody else seeing their roster or whatever. And I said, my comment to that was, here's the problem. You think that HRU is publicity. It's not. That is your publicity in racing. It's nobody else's publicity because nobody else knows about it.
Yeah, it's like if I have an article that I want to aim at people who run racetracks and such, I'm gonna submit it to HRU because I know they read it, and those are the people that you want to hit that information with. But when you're tackling an issue such as the government wanting to move money from slots, from horse racing purses to education, that's when you have to start targeting the actual constituents of your state because they might be in favor of that since Pennsylvania economically it's good, bad, in between. It's a kind of widespread spectrum, but it's tough to argue, like Mike said, moving that money to scholarships and funding education for those that don't have access to it. That's a tough talking point to fight. And so you have to start looking at these people that might see, oh, that money's moving from horse racing to education. That's a good thing. And then also bring up, well, here's the downside to doing that. It's going to impact your state this way. It could, and that could influence your taxes this way. But you have to really analyze the issue as a whole. But no one does that.
No.
I'm not saying that like I'm going to be the one to do it. I could probably
But
be
why
the one.
not? Why not, Ray? Seriously, I'm not saying you, but I'm saying why not you? If not you, why not you?
That's
Why
an
not
excellent
us?
point. It's
I mean,
an
because
excellent
somebody has to. Somebody has to. So if the people inside aren't willing to fight for everybody, somebody has to be willing to fight for them.
Yeah,
somebody has to be, because it's impacting. Yeah, it's great that kids that from low incomes get college monies. Okay, but it's even greater for all the families that are involved in racing to be able to go to college too. How about that? I mean, how about we help those people out? Those people have families too.
And the people in racing might even benefit from that shift also in some way.
But like we talked about, the problem is the way that the racing is presented by the media publicly affects things negatively. So if it would start to be presented in a more positive way, like just for the sake of example, like I said, the farmers and things like that, there's nobody that's fighting against them ever. But it's racing, tough. Oh, look, horse racing, oh, that's no good. Gotta get rid of that. Oh, you go to the track, oh, that's
And by the way, there's a lot of farmers that depend on these racehorses for their survival.
So you're impacting those people. You're impacting the blacksmiths. There's so many people that it impacts.
The levels that would be impacted by this budget passing are just astonishing. Once you know where it goes and how deep it goes within the population, you just, your jaw would drop.
But also, this is where we have to look at this as not an isolated incident. It's something, like Rod was saying, that could potentially occur in other states that don't have their pockets lined by people in the industry that don't have any sort of political influence. In Jersey, that was one of the smartest things they did was they got into the legislature, they lobbied for themselves, and they got the funding. They had people fight for the horsemen,
Right.
and they won in Jersey. And now that industry is starting to become revitalized. However, in other places, we're facing that same ethical battle of, oh, it's horse racing in the 21st century. How archaic, how antique. And that's mostly the metropolitan way of looking at it. That's the battle we're facing in these other places. When the main horse racing news on public news sites is horses dying, we aren't in a good spot. You can't be in a good spot in that way. It's like if you only saw articles from the NFL about football players that have dementia. It just would not. Why would people watch football then? People would just go, "Oh, football players. They're getting these debilitating brain diseases. Why would they play football?"
Well, there's
But
a
they
lot of
don't.
people that are saying that.
Well-
There's a lot of parents that won't let their kids play football now. You know, like especially around where I live, there's a lot of people that will not let their kids play football because of that publicity and because of that negative connotation.
And here's another thing that I think is a myth and a waste of money. I'm going to say it's a huge waste of money, and anybody that does it has no clue what the hell they're doing. There's this mythological theory that if you put things on public access TV, that people are going to watch it. Nobody watches public access TV, okay? There's like 30, 90-year-olds that are awake at 4 a.m. that are going to watch public access TV. Those people love public access TV because they don't even know what cable is.
So, what do we think about what Yannick said this week after this story came out? Did you see that?
It's all well and good to appropriate money, to say to a marketing agency, because presumably a marketing agency would do the things you expect. They would perform media audits of how other advertise.
Wrong.
Okay, can you
everything that you're saying is wrong.
Can you let me finish my point? I was saying while you would expect them to do that, you ultimately have to recognize when you're portioning that money, you have to know what the end goal is. No company or press can do that for you. You have to have the direction that you want to take it in order for that money to be worth anything. You could throw money at any sort of press public relations group. There's so many of them out there, but not all of them use that money effectively. It's almost something that you have to really think about deeply, or just have so much money that you get the best in the business that know how to tackle the public. Just go at them. Money, you can't just throw money at the issue.
Well, here's it, and you're 100% right on that, right? Because there are.
You see what happens when you let me finish my point?
There are a few. Well, you said marketing agency, and there's a couple of them in the industry that don't do a damn thing. And
I'm talking outside the industry though too.
Oh no, these are outside industries or outside companies working for racetracks, and the one that I'm most familiar with, I haven't heard from them at all. Don't know what they do except take the money from the racetrack, and I have not seen a public ad for that racetrack or heard one on the radio even ever. And this company does advertising for very big brands. And the racetrack gets nothing.
So what do you suggest about that then? What like he suggested, okay, we need to take X number of dollars and appropriate it.
Well,
to marketing,
it's not about
like
it's not so much about the dollars. It's about doing it the right way. And
So what is the right way?
The right way is to get a clear direction of how you want to market. And right now, nobody in the industry knows how to market because I'll tell you this: the local group, that is around here, they did it completely wrong. They're doing stuff that was done 30 years ago when I was a kid. That's how marketing was done then. Now,
Mhm.
you can the way that things are being done, it's so asinine. I don't even want to go into detail because it makes me mad.
Okay, well, it's kind of tough to understand what you're saying when you
Okay,
don't go into.
well, I'll go into a little bit of detail. Billboards, not effective marketing. That's what they're doing. They're spending a shit ton of money, and sorry for cussing, but I'm going to cuss because it makes me angry. Now they're spending a quarter of their freaking money this year on billboards. When's the last time you read a billboard?
I read billboards frequently. I when I'm on the highway. Am
When
I on
you're
the highway a lot? Not really. But
are you are
I've read a billboard.
Okay, so
do
what
you
do you
remember
suggest?
do you remember any billboards that you drove past?
I do. There's one in particular I pass when I go through Philly every
Okay,
time.
so
I
you
remember
drive
it distinctly.
by.
Let me explain why I remember it because it's important to know the whys.
Okay.
I remember it because it has this weird shape. It's not a trapezoid. It's not a rectangle. It has this like almost it's just a unique shape and it's a digital sign and I always remember it because it's shaped differently. And it's the only billboard that I will always remember in my head because it's amazing to me that nobody has thought to make billboards look different and how much of a difference that makes to the whole advertising of it.
That's not a regular billboard though.
But that's my point is that it's amazing how something so simple as that has not been achieved on a more on a larger
So,
scale.
Rod, what would you suggest? Since like you think that it's being done wrong, what do you think would be the right thing to do?
You take if you see the problem is racetracks don't want to work together.
Okay, I'm not asking you a question.
I'm giving you the answer.
Okay.
Okay, what is it?
Racetracks don't want to work together. So the answer is get them to work together. You make national TV ads, number 1. And I'm talking national TV, not PBS
Well,
local station 123.
okay.
That nobody's watching that crap. Primetime ads when it
Oh,
matters.
okay. All
About
right. What
what?
That
else?
that's number 1. Number
Okay.
2, you actually do events at the racetracks where people will come out. Not just say, "Oh yeah, today is you know,
Hat day.
yeah, hat day, bring your hat and you get a free program." Who freaking cares? Like Joe Blow doesn't care about that.
So what would bring you out? Like what would bring you out to the track?
You have to do some type of promotional. You do a giveaway. You have something else at the racetrack during the races. I don't care if it's a concert, if it's uh, a circus act. It doesn't matter. You can do any kind of entertainment.
Is that really though? That really focusing on racing, or are you trying to just
No,
expose people to racing by getting them
exactly.
to come in to chase the concert or to chase the
Yes, you bring them
okay.
in for any reason. It's you don't bring them in for the racing. You bring them in for any other
Because
reason.
whenever I go to a baseball, I usually go to baseball. Usually,
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
you bring them in for any other reason besides racing because they don't want to come for the racing. They're going to come for a concert. I proposed about 3 years ago before we even started NAHU to a racetrack that they bring in 3 rappers, and I had the prices for all 3 rappers, and they all live locally, somewhat locally. I'll say that. And they said no. I said why? Because they're rappers. I said, oh, so you don't like money? And I got no response after that. So when
okay.
I brought it up again. I said, oh yeah, you remember you didn't want to bring rappers in. By the way, Gulfstream brought Snoop Dogg in, and there were over 100,000 people at that place on that day, and 90,000 of them were at that concert. The other 10,000 were rich white people that left as soon as the races were over, and they owned all the horses that were there.
And they probably said the same thing of, a rapper. How quaint.
That Snoop Dogg concert at Gulfstream, was it last year, 2 years ago?
Yeah, I forget who was there this year.
Okay, but here's the thing. Okay, there are some racetracks and things that can sell. I mean, you have 40,000 people at Saratoga on a Saturday. You have people at Churchill. Keeneland in the middle of the week draws 25,000 every day. There are markets that sustain racing. There are places that race the attraction. That there are places that it does do well, and it is the main thing. But when you focus on all this other stuff, I mean, I feel like that you're really just taking the problem and burying it under, and you're not really solving it. You're
No,
not really doing anything.
You give them another reason to come to the track.
I mean, all that's all fine and good, but again, it doesn't really solve the problem of making racing the attraction and making people want to come to the racetrack.
And there's also the question of, if people come to the track, will they come back? I feel like a lot of the times people go to those kind of events, but then maybe they won't come to the racetrack again, especially younger people.
Well, here's where you finish that marketing campaign. When they walk out the door, you give them something for next time they come.
So again, but all that stuff costs money. Like you can say we're going to give and give and give and give, but there has to be some take too. At some point,
they're going to make money on
the business.
They're going to make money. They're going to make so much money on concessions, food and beverage for that event that it's going to more than pay for whatever they give away.
Those places aren't set up that way. You know what I mean? Like if you go, like you go to like we've gone to Vernon. There's one stand that has food. I mean, they're not set up to have concessions for 30,000 people. They're just not made that way, because they've been so desolate for so long that they're not set up for those kind of things and those kind of events, and that's why they don't have them, because they don't have the people to do it.
And also, too, remember when they wanted to bring Woodstock to Vernon, and then the whole town went against it?
Yeah. So, I mean, this is what I'm saying. Like, it's great to have those ideas, but you have to have the infrastructure to be able to pull them off. And that's the difficulty.
And that's ultimately why I've been pretty silent on this issue as well, because I don't want to be going out there and saying, oh, everyone doesn't know how to advertise racing, because I personally don't know the right approach. So I don't think it's fair to be jumping out of the gate, at least on my part, saying all the things that are wrong without knowing any sort of solution forward. I have some ideas about how you'd advertise racing nationally, but the question is, like, do you just put out an ad saying, oh, we're racing? The PA Racing Commission had a pretty decent ad that they mostly ran on just racetracks for some reason. On occasion, I'd see them on TV where it's like Mike, do you remember the We Are Pennsylvania horse racing ad? Yeah. Where it was all these different people that work inside racing, and they were just like, I'm Pennsylvania horse racing. It was something like that, something real simple that I don't know why they didn't really run it on TV as much as I remember.
Like they used to have national TV ads for thoroughbred racing, and a lot of people didn't like them. I mean, NTRA used to run ads every year on national TV, and a lot of people picked them apart. I mean, so I think it's extremely difficult to say, okay, this is exactly what you do, but then you don't really know how to go about doing it, or you don't know what's going to connect or click with people. Like, so it's easy to say, but a lot harder to execute.
Well, I get that, but at the same time, you don't start with that stuff. All that advertising stuff, that's secondary. You start with letting the public see it.
Oh, okay. That's number one. I would agree with that. I would absolutely agree with that. But I mean, we can sit here all day and say, okay, this is wrong, we could fix this. But my always question is how? How do you want to, how do you fix it?
You just if as long as you start with a clear lane, one avenue of, all right, we're going to do this. The public is going to be able to see it now. That is how you start it. And then from there, that one-lane road turns into a two-lane road, which turns into a four-lane road, which turns into a six-lane, an eight-lane. That's how you expand it. You start simple, let the public see it. If the public sees it, that's when you start getting new interest.
And if the public can see it, more importantly.
Yeah, they can't see it right now.
Yeah.
Let them see it.
I mean, they can, but everything's actually not. They can't see
All right.
everything.
Let's let's do this Rosecroft and get out of here. Because we could do this till Christmas.
Yeah.
Ultimately, race. My advice to racing is figure out the world you live in. I've been exposed to a lot of the world outside of racing as of late, and I can confirm there is a world outside of racing, outside of this bubble that I lived in for a long time. And we have to understand where we fit into the general conversation of American culture if we want to be able to understand how to dig ourselves out of the hole that we're currently in, as well as also understanding that infrastructurally, we are very niche, almost deliberately by specific avenues of profit and money that have to ultimately be adjusted so that way the infrastructure is accessible to everybody. On that note, Rosecroft has their Sunday program on February 9th because February 9th is a Sunday in most places. 13 races as they have on most race cards over there, with mostly full fields lining up in each of these events. Lots of different betting options at Rosecroft. You have the early pick 3 starting in race 4 through 6. You have the pick 5. That's a new addition, right? No, it's not. I thought they were adding a pick 4. That was supposed to be the new addition, right? My brain is mixed up. The pick 5 is old, and it starts in race 7. They had that last year.
Yes.
Yes, they did have the
towards
pick 5.
The end of last year. Yes.
Mm-hmm. And hopefully that pick 5 will get moved to race number 1 here soon.
Is that the plan?
That's what I'm going to try to make the plan.
Oh. Okay.
I'm adjusting my set because we never took a break, so I never had a chance to adjust my set. What we have many different betting options. Which one would we like to tackle?
We're doing the early pick 3.
Okay. A classic. A Rosecroft classic. Starting.
What?
Oh, good.
Starting in race 4, the Rosecroft early pick 3, a 50-cent minimum, with a field of 9 going postward. Kicking off this sequence, a numbers of 12-5. 12-5 being $1,250 for the layman out there. For the lay women, well, you rest up. Purse of $4,500. To kick off this sequence, Rod, we got 9 horses. Morning line favorite to the inside, American Rock, making his second start after taking a massive drop in class.
Yeah, I think that one's going to be tough to beat from the rail. Early speed. Eddie Davis Jr. stays on. Nice third place finish last week. Is going to be a big favorite here. Tough to go against him, but I'm going to use one other horse, the 5, So Take That. Last week was just too far back. Got shuffled back and then got out late. Raced very well, closed up well there, and looks to be in pretty good form and gets a class drop as well. So I'm going to go 1-5.
Mike.
Agree on the 1, third back. The 2 is also a third back, and raced okay last time. Draws inside. I think that that horse is worth the use. And then the outside 2, outside 2 of the outside at once. The 7 JK on a roll gets a drop, and raced well from an outside post last time. And then 8 was really no chance last time. Gets a driver switch. Did win twice last year. Has had kind of some tough posts and some wide trips, so that could be a huge price. 1, 2, 7, 8.
I'm on board with the 1 and the 7. American Rock should be a bit better on the post switch. I don't like the fact that he went backwards in that last race, losing 2 lengths in the stretch, but maybe that's because he's still coming off the bench. That's a thought, and hopefully just starting from the pylons would help them. Outside of that, JK on a roll comes in off a strong race against Tougher, and I imagine should be a bit better on the drop in class. So I'm going to stick 1-7 in the first leg. of that pick 3. Race 5's the second leg, a non-winners of 2. Whew! I just saw the one who is 2 for 123. I can already tell what kind of race this is going to be. Non-winners of 2 or 3 if they have not won a race in their last 6 starts. So this is a bit of a forgiving class for a purse of $6,000. 9 horses going postward here. And Rod, how do you start it?
The 4, Where's My Money, has been pretty sharp recently since coming back after that short break. And third and the second, been racing well from off the pace, is going to be coming late once again. The 1 for 27 mark is obviously the only bad thing with this one. The 6, Western Adventure, Chris Offutt, the guy doesn't win a lot, but I like that this horse last week made a move, tucked in, and then made another move. And he got a little bit tired late, but raced very well there. And I think he's going to be right there along with the 4 as they were right next to each other last week. And then take a little bit of a price, the 7, Caveat Madden, off the qualifier after a couple months rest. Pretty green horse, but has shown some speed, and I think could be a little bit of an upsetter with a trip. So 4-6-7.
Mike.
I'm going to single the 2 here. Where's Barry? Foster ends up here. He had he'd been driving several in here. So this horse has been racing for, numbers of 2s at Dover for a lot bigger monies. January 7th, just missed by a nose there at a big price. Has had outside posts at Dover, has had excuses, draws inside, easiest group in a long time. And there's a lot of chronic losers in here. So I'm going to single the 2.
I'm in agreement. Where's Barry has the class edge and the post edge, so I got to think he's got the win edge. I thought of that all on my own. Race 6 caps the pick 3. Now there's a $2,500 in their last 4 starts. Purse of $5,500. Trackman selections 1597. Thank you, all my fans. First time LASIK Diabando's scratch. Judges want to learn more about harness racing? Visit the USTA's website at ustrotting.com. That's all part of the condition in this program. 9 horses going postward. Rod, how do you cap it?
Inside and outside. The 1, Beam Me Up Scotty, really, really good qualifier last week and gets the rail. J-Rob jumps back on the drive. This horse won 7 times last year. Inside post, must use. Probably going to be the favorite here. And then the 9, Major Blue Coat for Brittany Bounds. Second start back off the layoff. Should show a little bit more. Post is a little concerning, but I thought the horse raced well from off the pace last week and should be able to work out a trip. Just needs a little bit of luck from this outside post. So 1-9.
Mike.
I agree on those 2. I'm going to add a couple others, though, since I keyed the last race. I'm going to spread in this race. So Tom made a 3rd start back, moves the race to well, hours of 25 on January 26th. So I think that one's to use. The 4, thank you, all my fans, gets LASIK's first time, 3rd time off the bench, does step up a little into the race, but, has some changes there that are intriguing, I think. The 5, Smart Rocker, raced okay from an outside post, numbers of 4,000 last time, and has won 35 times. So I don't mind that one. And then the 8, Wage Writer, another one that's 3rd back, raced in a tougher spot last time. This horse, is around it. It's lightly raced and is a little bit cheap. But Thompson gets on, has driven this horse well in the past. 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, and 9 to finish.
I'm going to cap my ticket with 3. Beam Me Up Scotty makes sense despite the move up in class. He just draws into a good spot, might be able to work out a good trip. Outside of him, Smart Rocker makes his 2nd start after a cavalcade of 6 or numerous 6 scratches. Qualified decently, raced decently last out, could have probably performed better, but now it takes a drop in class that should benefit him from a much better post. And I also throw in the 6, Ramblin' Art, who makes his 2nd start off a month layoff, was racing against Claiming Company last out, showed some speed early, but seemed to falter as a result. This is a much weaker field by the looks of it, that if he can just get to the front, he might be able to just cruise the rest of the way and should also be a bit fresher in his 2nd start off the bench. So I'm 156 to cap my pick 3, which goes as follows. For 50 cents, I am 1-7 with 2 with 156. Simply, it is $3. Mike, your ticket.
1, 2, 7, 8 with 2 with 1, 2, 4, 5, 8, 9. It's $24.
And Rod.
1-5 with 4-6-7 with 1-9. It's $6 or 50 cents.
And with that, we've done a very long show, running on 2.5 hours. An hour and a half of which was us yelling about the government as Mr. Government, and us also losing in pick fours that I, to this point, don't know how they ended, and probably for my own sanity would not want to know how they ended.
They all paid really well. Ireland's paid very well.
Terry said
Mohawk
I had a
paid
winner
really well.
in the last race. It was either the last or next to last race. Top pick winner at London. So
There you go.
And with all that said, I've been Ray Catolo. He's Mike Prebosi and Rod Hallams Jr.
bang bang.
Next week would be the love show, if there is a show. So expect one of us to kiss the other host.
To be naked.
We'll have to find out. You'll have to find out next week on North American Harness Update Love Island. Until then, my back hurts. That's all I gotta say.